Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with Ozark, Season 1, Episode 6, Review. So, I felt like this was a pretty good bridge episode onto the rest of the season, sort of, that's left. Wasn't, my favorite episode of the series by any means, but I thought, some of the stuff was very good in it. There was some odd storylines as well in here. I would just like to say, I am taking a long time with this. I haven't uploaded a review for Ozark, I think, in a week or two. So I've just been really busy with my other TV shows. And those are kind of taking priority, right, because they're week to week. So I like getting the reviews out as soon as possible for those. As I know people watch the show and they see the reviews. So then, so I'm just kind of, putting these on the back burner at the moment, but whenever I get some free time, I do one. For me, this series, I don't know. At the beginning, I thought it was really good. Like I said, I even got ahead of myself and watched a couple episodes because I couldn't help myself, right, with the reviews. But at this point, I don't know. I do enjoy it still, but I just don't have the same love for it as I first did. But anyways. I think it's a really good series. I think season 2 is going to be sort of like the defining factor for this show. I think if it's good, then I think the whole series is going to be good, and it's going to maybe even rival Breaking Bad, if that if they get to that. So we'll have to see. I don't know. Now that is a pretty tough task, but anyways. So let's get on with the recap for this one. This one's going to be a little bit shorter. Like I said, not a lot of really new stuff happened this episode, so I think I can cover it pretty quick. And then get into my ratings, some things I like, some things I didn't, and yeah. So, anyways, the recap begins now. So we'll start with Marty. He's biking on the road there, and it's kind of funny. He's waving, we see this pickup truck pull up behind him, and he's kind of waving him by, and, we know, that a pickup truck is full of, someone that, doesn't like Marty, or someone, trying to do something to him, but, of course, he doesn't think that, so he thinks that, maybe it's just some random guy, which is a little naive thinking, because, he's already met, this Jacob Snell guy, and he knows that, Bobby Dean, he just took the club for him, and the sheriff, so he knows that, a lot of, maybe, like, not a lot, but some drama is coming at him, a lot of people think he killed Bobby Dean, whatever, so I think, a lot of people, may be out to get him, or maybe to talk to him at least, so I think he's a little naive thinking that, it's just a normal person or whatever, but anyways, long story short, he's taken by Jacob Snell and his sort of henchmen. I like how Jacob Snell was there as well. Kind of shows, like the small town vibe thing there, right? He didn't just send men to do it. He actually was there and doing it himself. So that was cool. So then a few minutes later, we see Wendy finds the bike that Marty was driving, and she's, worried about him, wonders where he is, and she tries calling his phone, and his phone is at the scene. So, we know that Marty's in trouble here, and he doesn't have a phone to call for help or anything. So, kind of out of his control. So then we see, after that, then Marty goes to the Snell's farm, and basically Jacob shows him the operation of what's going on. And this was kind of a cool scene to see their sort of setup right at this, I think it was like a barn, the basement of a barn. With all the sort of like drug stuff they have down there, and just really kind of cool to see the way that they run it. Definitely different than Dell and the cartel, that's for sure. But yeah, Jacob shows him the operation. Tells him that construction on the church, that was their big idea last episode, to help launder all this money for Dell, and with that they'd finally be able to do it. But he says construction on the church has to be stopped because they need the service on the water, and, they need the service on the water to sell the drugs out on the water because, doing it on land would be too risky for them. And so I totally get that, obviously, Jacob Snell's point of view. I mean, this is this is a tough situation to be in, and I think he understands that Marty is working for someone pretty high up. But if he wants to keep peddling the drugs out in the Ozarks, then he has to do it on the water. And as we saw in the last one, that they put it in these little Bibles and they hand it out. So obviously it's a pretty intricate plan, and it's been going on for a long time. And so Marty just kind of is come along and just ruined it. So obviously I can see that it would be a problem for the Snells. And he says, as so much of a cross goes up on that church, Jacob says he'll cut the baby out of the pastor's wife's out of the pastor's wife. And that's just really gruesome. But at that point, I believe Jacob. I think that he would do that. He's just kind of a ruthless guy. Really doesn't give a fuck about anything, except, his operation and his family. So I could see him doing that. Definitely a big threat. And it's interesting that he knows, he doesn't threaten Marty or anything, but he knows what'll get to Marty. So he's a really smart guy as well. We got to give that to him as well. Really smart villain. And then of course, the wife also explains, your toothbrush is blue or whatever. Tells Marty that they've been in the house, and of course we knew that the guy was in the house there last episode. So then Ruth goes to see her dad in prison. And this one was called Book of Ruth. So it was kind of a interesting name, and she got quite a lot of screen time. So she goes to see her dad in prison. Dad tells her a lot of accidents happen in the water, and he's kind of building her confidence up here because I don't think she actually comes out and says it, but he kind of understands what she's saying, how she basically wants to kill Marty. So she thinks she's ready to kill him. She kind of saw where his money is stashed there in that little storage place. She kind of knows the business a little bit, and she says, it's a big opportunity that, she's giving Marty a ride, so she wants to take the opportunity and finally get rid of him and kill him. Even though, they've only known each other for maybe a week, maybe a little bit more, so a little early in my opinion. I think she could wait a little bit, but it is what it is. So her dad basically gives her confidence to kill him, kind of talks her into it. Obviously, her dad's a big influence on her, but I think she kind of sees through him as well. I think she has, more morality than he does, and she kind of, comes up with this with help from him. I don't think she would have ever done it, without him. So then Roy Petty, the FBI agent, tries to start a bait and tackle shop with Russ. After last episode, we saw them that they actually slept together in the hotel there. A really weird relationship all of a sudden, because we thought Russ was sort of anti-gay, and he definitely did not want anything to do with Roy. And all of a sudden he came over. So I'm glad that this storyline continued like this from last episode, and it wasn't just that happened and whatever. So we also see now that Roy is kind of doing this just to get in on Russ, and we see why he does it as well, because he's trying to get to Marty. At end of the day, he's trying to get to Marty. That's his end game. And he's actually doing it with going through Russ. So I really like that. So he starts his bait and tackle shop he wants to do, and he wants Russ to ask Marty if he'll invest. So now, Roy, his big plan is that if Marty will invest, I'm just kind of inferring this, but if Marty invests, then he'll try to launder money through it, and then Roy can check the books, and they can nab him, or at least he can nab him. So that's kind of his whole plan there. Really smart as well. He's being really sly here. Still, no one knows that he's an FBI agent in the whole town or the whole area, and definitely not Russ. So really interesting, and he's a really, really sneaky guy. So then we got a scene with Wendy and Buddy Diker there, which is pretty funny. It was, they were joking about the president and stuff like that. So I just thought it'd add some comedy to what was a pretty dark episode, to be honest. There wasn't a lot of light in this one. With Jacob taking Marty at the beginning, it just sort of started. And then it just, the darkness really never stopped throughout this. There wasn't really a lot of positives. So in that sense, it may not have been an enjoyable episode from that standpoint of you just want Marty to succeed in this, because a lot of stuff gets thrown at him here. But yeah, I thought it was a good comedic relief to this episode, and I like the relationship that Wendy has with Buddy, and I like Buddy's character so far. Pretty cool. So then Russ, not a typical character, right, for TV, so it was cool. Russ asked Ruth then to talk to Marty about the bait and tackle shop idea, because obviously Russ doesn't know Marty, and he can't really talk to her. I talked to him. Sorry. Ruth then tells Russ that her plan is to kill Marty at the dock. She tells him basically the whole plan about that she's going to electrocute him in the water, stuff like that. But this is when Roy Petty leaves the room, the FBI agent. So he is not filled in on it, but later on, of course, he is. So then, and so this is what happens. So then Roy pretends to be Russ's friend back in the truck. And, he says, I don't want you to go to jail or something like that. You can tell me what Ruth is planning. Don't worry, I won't, I won't tell anyone or whatever. And meanwhile, this guy's an FBI agent, and Russ Langmore is sitting in the same truck as him. So just really brilliant writing in this as well, and just great acting by the guy who plays Roy Petty as well. Great stuff there. And so basically then he kind of, gets Russ to tell him what Ruth is planning and kind of exactly her plan. So not typical Russ to kind of just open up and kind of, throw another Langmore under the bus. But obviously he's developing this relationship with Roy, and Roy's kind of getting to him in a way. So, yeah. So then Charlotte goes with Zach on his boat to Party Cove. And, this was a really interesting scene. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say on it. I thought it was interesting. I thought the relevance of it for the show, to be honest, it wasn't my favorite. The kids are definitely a main point in this series. But I think that this whole storyline, maybe this inspires Charlotte to do something later on. Like that post with social media earlier we saw. So that might, this might be what that is. But anyways, they go to Party Cove. And this is the guy that was in the Blue Cat Lodge last episode, I believe. So he kind of came back. So I'm glad that they incorporated that as well. So it's kind of a party atmosphere. They got loud music. And it was a good song, the Black Beatles song that they played in the episode. So that was really good as well. I love the soundtrack for this show. So that was great. And, loud music and that stuff. And they go down in the bottom of the boat. Charlotte, is drinking beer or whatever. And Zach, finds out, he says, "Are you old enough to be drinking that beer?" or something like that. And she says no. And then she kind of kisses him, comes on to him a little bit. And that is where it goes. It just goes from there. So Charlotte ends up having sex with Zach. And man, in the bottom of the boat, man, I don't know, because he knows that she's underage. She's not even 16, really, I don't think. So technically, not technically, this is illegal, right? She's not consenting age. And I would guess maybe he's mid-20s. So it's a little weird, right? It's a little weird. But, he knows she's underage, but he kind of does it anyway. He does ask her, is this okay? Stuff like that. So it's not by any means, rape or anything like that, right? It's consensual. But technically, because, she's not 16, I guess it's not consensual. So this is just kind of a really confusing scene, but interesting. So, Charlotte loses her virginity here. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more of this, because if there's not, I don't really see the relevance for this scene. It took a lot of time in this episode as well. So interesting scene to see. Kind of a little bit disturbing in a way that he would still go ahead with this, even though he knows that she's underage. So I don't know. He doesn't know that she's 15, right? Or under 16. Maybe he thinks she's 17 or 16, something like that. But anyways, still on him for making that decision. So anyways, that's that. Last we talked about it. So then Ruth offers to give Marty a ride by boat to his house. So this is where her whole plan comes in. She rigs the dock so when he steps up on it, he'll get electrocuted and die, right? The shock will be enough to kill him. And so, honestly, this was a little bit annoying to me that Marty, he basically falls for it completely. I mean, he does not see it coming at all. I mean, he even, like, takes his shoes off and he steps up on the dock, and it's like, really? He's about to step up on the dock. Like, really, man? After, all this, he's a smart guy. He sees these things before they happen. The whole thing with Bobby Dean, and he doesn't see this coming with Ruth. I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit of a plot hole in this one. I felt like he would totally, I feel like he would totally fall for it. Or not fall for it, and he would figure it out. But anyways, the rigging ends up failing, and Marty ends up safe from this electrocuting, so he doesn't die. And we find out that Roy Petty, the FBI agent, was the one who de-rigs it and actually saves Marty. So this was interesting. This kind of tells us that Roy, he's not done with Marty yet. You know what I mean? He needs him. He's wanting to bring him to justice. He could have just let him die, but he ends up that he de-rigs it because he's not done with him, right? He wants to get justice really on him, and he knows he's up to something. So obviously he ends up de-rigging it. So and this is kind of a weird thing as well. Jonah finds him and kind of holds him at gunpoint. And, he gets him off the property, and Roy just says, puts his hand up, says, I'm going, and he just leaves. Now, why is Jonah, I don't know, it's just confusing. I like the part where they brought back Jonah and the gun. He's kind of defending the family, which is really nice. I mean, he's a little bit young, but, good on him. But again, why is he just letting this guy walk off the property when he's with binoculars spying on his dad? He just lets him walk off the property, and he's just holding him at gunpoint or whatever, say, never come back here, whatever. I don't know. It's just a little weird. If I was Jonah and I saw a guy like that, obviously he doesn't know he's an FBI agent. If he did, then you wouldn't even hold him at gunpoint. And of course, Roy's not going to do anything because he doesn't want to blow his cover. So, I don't know. It's just a weird scene. It was a little bit out of place for me, but I like the part where they brought back Jonah and the guns, because they've been building on that a little bit. So then Marty tells Wendy that they're going to meet the mark with Dell. They're going to be able to pay him off with the $8 million with the construction costs on the church. So they're going to be able to do it. And this was interesting where, he has sex with Wendy. And it was kind of weird, right? Because we're thinking, okay, why are they showing us this, right? They haven't showed scenes like this in the past. And so basically what happens is, he slaps her ass, a lot of times, over and over again, like he saw her in the video on his laptop with Gary. Now, in my, first impression of this, I thought it was him and Wendy, and it was sort of just like a self-recorded sex tape or something. But no, it was Gary and her, and he had the tape, so he knew about the affair that was going on. So that's completely my bad. I kind of, I had the wrong impression on that. It was actually Gary and Wendy, and this makes a lot more sense as well. So he does it, just like he saw in the video. And Wendy, we kind of see her face. We kind of notice that she kind of knows. She's kind of, wondering what's up. Like, he never does this or whatever. Afterwards, she says that. And yeah, so then the next day, Wendy kind of questions him. How would you know I like that or something like that? And, he says, obviously he's not going to tell her, and he just says, I just guessed or something. So she wants to know the truth, so she hacks into his laptop, and she actually finds the video of Gary and her, the kind of sex tape that he actually had on his computer, and she finds out his secret. That he has this video. So, obviously, this is going to lead to more things in the future. I'm not sure if Wendy's going to use this against him. Maybe she's going to hide it from him a little bit and kind of use it when she can. I don't know. We'll see definitely where she goes with this. I don't think she's going to tell Marty right away. That's just not her character, right? Like, she's going to be up to something here. And I think that it's definitely an interesting plot twist that she kind of finds this video. So, yeah. So, and I'd just like to say, it was pretty easy to hack into Marty's laptop. I mean, yeah, she's his wife, right? She knows a lot of things about him, but it's pretty easy. I mean, she got it on like the second try or something. Just saying. So then Ruth confronts Russ and Boyd about her failed plan. She says that Russ, he's the only one that she told about it, and that he must have been the one to de-rig it. And Russ and Ruth kind of fight. And it's really brutal. I mean, this is a really tough scene to watch, honestly. To see this stuff go down. Then Russ tells her, he says that she must have pushed out or something like that. And obviously, Ruth not taking too kindly to that. So I believe she spits on him or something like that in his face. And, this is just a really horrible thing. I mean, that Russ, he ends up slapping Ruth across the face really, really hard too. And I mean, there's just no place for this at all, right? With him, touching her or whatever, like this, or hitting her, anything like that. I mean, it's just not okay at all. And it was a tough scene to watch, to see Ruth, being abused like that. But it just kind of reaffirms the type of family Langmores are, and what she's kind of going through, and why she does what she does. So yeah, it was definitely meaningful, relevant, totally in my opinion. It was just tough to watch, but that's just the way the writers, wrote it, and kudos to them. They did a great job. Also, great acting with Russ and Ruth, right? Sometimes we gotta go beyond the show and, give our respects to the actors in this, right? Because, someone's gotta act in this scene, and someone's gotta perform. So, that's just the reality of it. So that was a tough scene to watch. So then Charlotte finds out that Zach left the Ozarks and his boat. He kind of just left it there in the Ozarks, and he was gone. This is the day after that she kind of got back from that party cove. And yeah, it was kind of tragic, or not tragic, but kind of just sad for Charlotte, that Zach left. He and her are obviously, they had sex, right? They're kind of maybe building a relationship even. And so this is a tough pill for her to swallow, that he's just gone and that he left her. And obviously she's not used to this. So, and I'm sure it's going to happen to her a lot more times. I think Wyatt says that. And Wyatt kind of comforts her in that situation. He says, that he left, and like I said, that this is going to happen again, whatever. Boys are like this. And he says something about locals or something in Ozarks, and you can join us or something like that. So just comforting her. And I really think that we're going to see a future between the two of them. After last episode, they kind of made up. This episode, Wyatt's kind of there for her. So I think that's definitely building to something in the future. Then Rachel. This is a big scene in the episode, actually. Kind of like I wouldn't say like an iconic moment in the show, but like definitely an important one. So Rachel looks at the books after a while, and she actually finds out what Marty's doing, right? She finds out, he orders 25 air conditioning units or something like that when they only got 4, and the list just goes on and on, right? About how he's laundering this money. And I don't think she totally understands, that he's laundering money, but she obviously knows he's up to something, and she knows it's not legal. So she yells at him to get out and, to leave her property. And Marty says, I can't do that or whatever, right? And Rachel basically, gives him the ultimate, ultimatum here, and she's dialing the police. Right? She says, like you gotta get out, or I'm calling the police. And so Marty, he can't really do much. She calls the police, then he's done. So he has to leave, and he's not able to explain to her. He just wants to explain to her, explain what's going on. Maybe she'll understand. And he's not able to, and he's forced to leave, and he kind of throws the phone off the table. So it's an emotional scene for both Rachel and Marty, because they were kind of starting to get close here, starting to kind of build a business relationship, not a really like a romantic relationship. And this is kind of just destroys it all. And he needs the blue catalog in order to launder the money for Dell. So it's going to be tough to see what happens here with that. And we'll have to see I have to see where that goes and if he is able to get back to the Blue Cat Lodge. I do see Rachel's point on this totally. If I was her, I would have the exact same reaction. So I don't think I'm really too mad at Rachel for what she's doing. I kind of get, I understand where she's coming from. So then the episode kind of ends off on a interesting note. With Marty driving home, and great music here as well, kind of building up the suspense for this. We knew that something was going to come, but we weren't sure what. So he's driving home, and he looks up, he slams on the brakes, kind of funny, and he sees the cross on the church building. And this is crazy because Jacob says in the beginning, he says, if so much of a cross goes up on that church, then he will cut the baby out of the pastor's wife. And there's a cross, right? There's a cross on the building. And, I mean, nothing else has been touched, but there is a cross on the church building. So, who put this up? Not sure. Marty even told the pastor that they can't touch it. They can't put anything, any changes on it. I think he even said they can't put a cross on it. And, obviously, someone did. So, he calls Wendy, leaves her a message as well. And then we also see a little overlap here, which was really well done, of Jacob Snell being showed the picture of this cross. So obviously, the Snells know now that the cross is up there, and so does Marty, and they kind of find out at the same time. So obviously, I don't think it was the Snells, because, why would they do that? Unless, they just want to show Marty their dominance, I guess, with putting it up and seeing what will happen. Otherwise, though, I don't think it was them. Obviously, it wasn't Marty, so we have to see who it was. May have been Ruth, trying to maybe get back at Marty. I don't know. But really, no other person around knows the situation. So I think it's going to be one of those, accidents. I don't think they're going to do it purposely. But yeah, definitely interesting. So leading up to a lot of things. Next episode, kind of excited for it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So anyways, now I get to my rating. So in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.3 out of 5. I did enjoy it. Like I said, I think it was a good bridge episode in between episodes. I think the stuff with Ruth setting up for Marty, I think that was great. The build up to that was great. I think the scene where Marty actually got off the boat, I think at that point we obviously we know that Marty's not going to die, but in that scene, I feel like it was kind of obvious that something was wrong and that he was going to be perfectly safe. I like the way they did in Ruth's perspective, though, how they kind of, made it blurry a little bit, how she was, about to witness a death, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen, and she's really, she's really shocked. So, yeah, I think that scene could have been done a little bit better, build up a little bit more suspense. Stuff with Jacob Snell was really interesting. Great to kind of see more of his backstory. I love the stuff with FBI agent Roy. Now we're kind of getting to know why, what he's up to and why he's doing it, sort of thing. And he saves Marty in this, so obviously, he plays a big part in it. Stuff with Charlotte, I don't know. I don't really see much relevance right now in the show, right this episode. But I think next episode we might find out why, that whole thing was shown to us, and maybe that pushes her more towards Wyatt in the end. So maybe, I don't know. And I think the thing that with Marty and Wendy having this secret now, I think this is going to come back in the next couple episodes, and I think she's going to use it against him somehow. But I don't think she's going to come up, up front and be honest with him about it. So that'll be very interesting to see where that goes. But yeah, I thought it was good. Like I said, I thought it was a dark episode. I think a lot of, hard, that the stuff with Ruth was hard to watch with Russ and her in that scene. But and just like not maybe dark, but just the negative. Like Rachel finds out about the books. Jacob basically, punishes Marty and basically is ruling him now in the Ozarks. I mean, the only really good thing is that Roy saved Marty in this. That's really the only positive of this episode. And yeah, so I mean, take a step back, right? It seems like with this show, Marty gets one episode, he takes 2 steps or 1 step forward. Next episode, he takes 2 steps back. Sort of like that. He's just he's catching a few breaks, but then he just goes right back down. Yeah, so it's unfortunate, but I do like the pacing of the show as well. It's not going too fast, not too slow. I think it's just right, maybe even a little too slow, right? Because, we haven't seen a lot happen yet. But great episode, and builds up some suspense for next week. Or not next week, right? It's already out, but the next episode I meant, for episode 7. So, yeah, definitely interested in that. And my favorite character for this one is Marty Bird. Now, this is just kind of a automatic one, right? I mean, this is, he's been my favorite character a lot. Don't have to say a lot about him, but I just like the scene with Wendy. I think that was good acting there. What else? I think him biking, I think that was good. Like, just, he would have actually had to, bike in that, and I'm sure he did a lot of it because they would have done a lot of takes of that with the pickup truck and stuff. I'm not sure if he actually would have been on the bike when he got hit. Maybe that would have been a stunt double or something. I don't know. Probably no. He was probably on the bike still. I'm not sure, but definitely interesting. But yeah, I'm just in love with the Marty character. I really liked when he was confronted with Rachel, just trying to explain and whatever. And then luckily for him, that she kind of lets him go, right? She says, if you get out, I'm not going to say anything. So that was good. And I liked, though, that he kind of got the last word in when he slammed the phone off the desk. So that was good. Yeah, so that is basically it for the review/recap for this episode of Ozark. Like I said, going a little bit slower with the show. Not, really as involved with it as I was at the beginning. But nonetheless, I really like it. And I've just been hearing a lot of stuff about the finale, how it's really, really good. And like I said, I mean, I know a bunch of people who've already watched all 10 episodes. Don't worry, they haven't spoiled anything. I've asked them, don't spoil it, right? Because I'm doing these reviews. I don't want to, know stuff ahead of time and be here. So these are just realistic, right? I don't know what happens next. So, anyways, but yeah, I've just heard that it's a big finale. So hopefully that'll be cool. And I'd just like to remind you guys as well, I'm going to be doing a complete season wrap-up of this show once I get to the end of episode 10. So when I do episode 10 review, then, a few days after that, maybe I may take some time. I'm going to average out the ratings for each episode and give it an overall rating for the season, and maybe give a couple my favorite character maybe for the season. It'll probably be Marty Bird, just spoilers, but yeah, so maybe I'll do that. And that'll be a little bit of a shorter video as well. I'm just going to go over some positives, some negatives, what I liked, what I didn't like, stuff like that. So, anyways, be sure to look out for that when episode 10 review is done. I'm going to try to finish this series off pretty soon because I don't really want it, lingering around. It did come out July 21st, so I'm already a month after it came out. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support on my videos lately. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you for Ozark Season 1, Episode 7 next time.
Thought we were beautiful for a second. Gave you all control. I regret it. 'Cause on and on and on.